In video games, color is way more than just red barrel goes boom. It tells you where to go, what to touch, who to trust, and sometimes it screws with you on purpose. Whether you're exploring the vibrant fields of Hyrule or descending into the colorless dread of Inside, color is doing half the storytelling and guidance, and most of the time, you didn't even notice. So, let's break down the hidden language of color in video games, the rules, the lies, and the moments it completely rewires your brain. But first, what is color? I know that sounds like a dumb question. This is color, this is blue, this is yellow, this is red. Or is this red? Or this one? Actually, all of them are red. And at the same time, they are not. Because this is maroon, this is burgundy, and this is crimson. And this is not blue, it's cyan, but I bet you didn't disagree with me when I said it was blue. We tend to group colors in big categories to make things easier to understand. But what we are actually seeing are three different things: hue, saturation, and value. We could consider hue the most basic one. It's the one that tells you Luigi is wearing green, while Mario is wearing red. Saturation is how intense or muted a color is. If you lower the saturation, the game will look more serious and mature, maybe depressing or scary. And if you increase the saturation, your players may rip their eyes off, so please, be careful with the saturation. And the last value we need to consider is value. Basically, how light or dark a color is. Every color can be found inside the famous color wheel. You're probably used to this one, or if you took a slightly more advanced course, maybe you saw this one. But it looks more like this. So, when you pick a color in a game engine or painting app, you're not just picking red, you're picking a very specific kind of red. It may be brighter or darker, it may be neon or dusty, and that will change the viewer's perception completely. Alright, now that we know what color is and how it works, we can talk about how games use it. Not just to look pretty, which they obviously do, but also to guide your attention, shape your emotions, and build entire worlds. The most basic use is direction and guidance. This can be done in a few different ways, for example with breadcrumbing. This is a technique where developers will use different visual cues to move the player in a specific direction. For example, in Mario Bros we got the coins, constantly showing you where to go. In Sonic, you have the rings, also extremely easy to locate. But breadcrumbing is not always this obvious. Let's look at The Last of Us, for example. Look at this scene. Which way should you walk? You obviously need to keep going straight. Maybe you could think that a building will be safer, but these red lights push you forward, so you walk a bit more. And then you see a light to your left, one to the front, and one to the right. It will be impossible to know which way to go. Until you turn to the right, and you can now see fire, an ambulance, and a building in the back. All of them red. All of them calling you. But throughout the game, there's another color that guides you, and that's yellow. Yellow paint is one of the most hated elements in video games. Mostly because many games have used it, like Resident Evil 4 Remake. But in The Last of Us, the usage is way more elegant. For example, here we can follow a yellow cable, which will bring us to our next destination. In other instances, we may see a yellow barrel indicating the way, but always integrated in the world, like it should be. One thing you will notice is that yellow and red are often the preferred options for guiding the player, and there's a good reason for that. Go out to the street and walk to your nearest park or forest. Which colors do you see? There will be tons of green, brown on the trees, and blue on the sky. Those are everyday colors to our brain. But if there was a yellow, red, or purple element in the middle of the forest, your eyes would be drawn to it. There's a reason why flowers are colorful, to attract insects that will then pollinate them. And you know what that means? It means that flowers understand level design and breadcrumbing better than Ubisoft. And color doesn't just guide where you go, it also tells you what matters. At the start of the video I said that color in video games is way more than just red barrels go boom. But it also means red barrels go boom. And yellow paint in a box means it's breakable, and a slightly shinier object is probably intractable. And of course, if a potion is green or red, it will probably heal you, while if it's blue, it will give you mana. You don't need to read those things, you can feel them. Maybe not if it's your first time playing a game, I don't know if my mom would guess these things, but everyone watching this is probably a gamer, and I'm sure you can tell which of these barrels would explode. even without the symbol. But the best part is that, while these examples are pretty basic, each game can build its own language through color. Let's go back to Mario Bros. This is the first level any player will encounter. Which elements are you drawn to? These boxes, of course, they are yellow and they have a giant question mark. So you walk a bit, and when you hit them with your head, you see that they are interactable. You keep walking and you see the first coins, as I already mentioned. Walk even more and you will find the start coin, also yellow. So now you're exploring the world and you see this. Weird, isn't it? So far you mostly walked on the ground, and if there was a platform, it was brown. But this one is different. It's yellow. And so is this one. So they must be special in some way. You walk on them and they are special. Because the color was not a coincidence. It was there for a reason. It was creating a language, a pattern for your brain to recognize. You probably didn't actually go through all this active thinking to realize that, but your brain still knew what was going on. And not only your brain, because color also speaks to your heart. Brightness, saturation, even the absence of color. These are all tools to shape your emotion, to make you feel something before you even know why. Take The Last of Us Part 2. There's a scene where Ellie is torturing Nora, trying to find out where Abby is. It's one of the darkest moments in the game, not just emotionally, but visually. The environment is bathed in red, shadows swallowing up every corner. It's uncomfortable. The red doesn't just say danger, it says rage, obsession. It's violent, raw, and overwhelming. And it mirrors what Ellie is becoming. Now compare that to something like Grease, an entire game built around the 5 stages of grief, and every one of them has a color. As the story progresses, Grease becomes more complex, light, and colorful, with the gray color representing denial, red representing anger, green for bargaining, blue for depression, and finally, the last stage of grief, acceptance, beautifully represented by the color yellow. Or Limbo, which takes the bold route and just deletes color altogether, only black and white. It makes the world feel cold, unforgiving, stripped of warmth or safety. And here's where things get really interesting. I mean, even more interesting. Color never acts alone. It lives and dies by context. Take the color red. Sure, it can scream danger or anger. I think we saw that pretty clearly. But the same color can feel seductive or passionate, and many more things. Same hue, totally different emotional payload. And the same goes for blue. It can be calming and refreshing. We see it in the ocean and the sky. But in Hollow Knight, the washed out blue colors feel lonely, because you're exploring the echoes of a forgotten kingdom. A color palette only lands when it's woven into the narrative, mechanics, and mood the designer is chasing. If you're making a game, before you pick Danger Red or Calm Blue, ask yourself, what story does the scene already whisper? And how can color amplify that voice? So, next time you're playing a game, pay attention to the colors around you. Not just because they look pretty, but because they are speaking to you. Quietly, constantly, and with purpose.